technology. I remember when it was supposed to make our life easier. Okay, so I have nothing to disclose. I don't make money off of What3Words. I'm just a fan. So that's me in a nutshell. I've been a ham since 2002, so I'm coming up on a few years. And yes, I'm still sitting on a technician class. Hush, I'm happy with it. What part of hush did you not understand, Southern boy? I have been a member of SLSRC for a while. Due to lack of planning on y'all's part, I was a president at one time. You guys were crazy. I had lower standards back then. I have participated in a lot of community service things. That's why I got into this. And that's what's over there on the right-hand side, the various things. Why I am a ham. My wife lied. I was doing bike MS as a cyclist. Obviously, that was a few years back. And I convinced my wife that she could drive a SAG van and volunteer. Along about the second year or so, she had a ham radio operator in the van with her, and he was doing what we do as hams, talking up amateur radio. And my wife, trying to be polite, said, you know, I think my husband's had an interest in that. I couldn't even spell ham back there. I didn't, no. But then we fast forward about 9-10 months, and the MS Society called Rebecca and said, did you ever get your license? Because we're really short radio operators. So both of us studied, got our license, and that's why I'm a ham, because my wife lied. Now, what is What3Words? First off, I know Cliff has it on his phone. I obviously have it on my phone. Anybody else have the app on their phone? Okay, in a little bit, on this side, you'll be able to use it. You guys might be at a bad angle. But so here in a little bit, I'll try to warn you. Pull it up, and we're going to do something for you guys. Now, they divided the globe into 3 meter by 3 meter squares. That's 57 trillion-ish squares. Or for us here in the U.S. that we don't like to convert to metric, we're looking at 10 square feet, approximately. They use constant words for those squares. So each square has a 3-word name. And those words do not change. They're set in concrete. Big businesses have tried to convince What3Words, hey, we want our front door square to be this. And they said, no, they're set, we're done. They do use similar words, but they try to split those up. So I have an example in here a little later. If they used bear, is that B-E-A-R, B-A-R-E? Well, if they do something like that, they kind of split them up where they're at least geographically separated by quite a bit, if not just completely around the globe. And they use short words versus long words. So the shorter words tend to be overpopulated areas, whereas the longer words tend to be in Antarctica, in the middle of the ocean. Nobody's there. Who cares? You know. We talked about how they split it up 3 meter by 3 meter. The words are constant. That's kind of important. They're the separation and the shorter words versus longer words. So we've gotten that taken care of. It is multilingual. When I put this slide together for Winterfest, they were at 50 plus languages. I checked on my app today, and I can choose from 61 languages. It does work offline. Once you have the app, it works offline. And they are constantly adding more languages to it. Now here is a German restaurant over in Belleville, Illinois. That is basically their front door, Blanket Unseen Troubled. But its German name is Kurfürsten. I'm going to pronounce it wrong. My German is way off. Differin and Forgetzi. You may notice that that's not a direct change from Blanket Unseen Troubled translated to German. And at first, I didn't catch on to that they were doing that. But it makes sense. What is a short word in English is not necessarily a short word in German or any other language. So it's like they had to start all over again for each new language they bring on board. They've got to discover which are the easy words, which ones are the sounds alike, etc. By the way, this is on, like I said, in Belleville, Illinois. Pretty good food. The creators of What3Words. You've got Chris Sheldrick. So Chris was in the music industry. He was responsible for getting people to their gigs, whether it was the sound guys, the artist, the caterer, just getting them to the right place at the right time. And he thought, okay, we're going to use GPS coordinates because it was a known problem. People would show up at the wrong spot. So they tried to use GPS coordinates. Well, one day he got a call, and it basically went, Chris, don't panic, but we're pretty sure we just sound checked the wrong wedding. And their example, the other example here is they transposed a couple of digits in the GPS coordinate, and so instead of being 1 hour north of Rome, they were 1 hour south of Rome. Doesn't work out well. His partner in crime is Mohan. I'm not going to try that last name. Who's a mathematician, has a PhD in mathematics. He is the chief researcher. He's the smart guy. Chris came up with the idea, talked it with his buddy, and they figured out how big the squares needed to be and how to get the words for them. He does have a book out there. If you're bored, there it is. The Language of Mathematics, a Linguistic and Philosophical Investigation. It's currently on Amazon for $79.81. What's the problem? So currently, the UN tells us that about 75% of the countries in the world do not have an adequate addressing system. That works out to be over 4 billion plus people that don't have a reliable address system. It does focus in India, Africa, and Central America. Those tend to be the problem spots. So What3Words uses innovative technology. Again, it's just a square that has 3 words as its name. And I'll go into examples here in a second. I mentioned that India might be a problem. So here's a map, a road map of India, taken off of Google, stolen without their permission. And you can basically see there's a road up there to the north or to the top, to the left, and down there, bottom right corner. Those are the 3 roads, and I almost said main roads. No, those are the 3 roads. This is the satellite image. That's where people live. So imagine being in the middle of that. What is your address? And which road do you reference? You know, because you're 5, 6, 10 houses deep before you get to a road. The other issue, we're not very creative sometimes in naming roads. Margaret Avenue, Drive, Lane, Margaretta Avenue versus Marguerite Avenue. Another issue, I don't know, anybody travel to Japan? So in Japan, for a long while, your houses were numbered based on when they were built, not where they're located on the road. So house 1, 2, 3 could, up through 10, could be lined up as 4, 6, 2, 1, 3, 9, etc. They also then went into all right, we got to be a little more standardized, so let's number them by going around the block. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Going around the block, going around. It's like, okay, but, I don't live in Japan. I don't have that mindset. But other countries do other things that are just as odd. Anybody know where Collinsville is? You should if you've ever gone to Winterfest. So, like I said, I did this presentation at Winterfest. I looked up in Collinsville the names of their roads. Complex Drive, Concord Drive, Constance Avenue, County Line Road, there's County Line Avenue. Current ways that we are solving the address problem. The NGS point description marker, NGS National Geodetic Survey. Street addresses, which we all know and love here in the United States. Then you got degrees, minutes, seconds, degrees and decimal minutes, Maidenhead grid squares, most of us may know that, and then Google Map Plus code. I don't know if you've ever noticed on Google Maps, if you look up a spot, right under where you've put in the address, on that left-hand side, it has a Google Plus code. Here's the NGS data sheet. There's a description how to get to a very particular point. And I mean they're very particular. This is what surveyors used to use to be able to lay things out. So I'll let you read through that. The airport's still there. Rebecca and I also looked for another survey disc, or the benchmark disc. It's gone because they redirected the road and moved the road, but it's still listed on their database. Here is what it is describing, that item right there. By the way, I would love to have one, but they do punish you with $250 fine or imprisonment if you mess with that. Yeah. The food may be better than when I get, never mind. Here's another way. For the same location, 440 Falling Springs Road in Cahokia, Illinois, 62206. Now, Falling Springs Road is that road that's up on the top. That yellow square is indicating where that survey disc is, or that benchmark disc is. So it's kind of broad. You're not going to find that benchmark disc just off of that. Here we're getting in a little closer. You can use the GPS coordinates, but try to remember those. Or better yet, try to remember that one. My brain doesn't work like that. And then that Maidenhead grid square. And of course you can add more digits to that and get it, fine-tuned. But I've got in red, that's that grid square. That's where we're trying to get to. And then there's the Google Plus code. I'm not sure how they use that yet. I discovered it a couple years ago. But that is where that disk is, that small dot itself visual. And if you get to that location, you are going to be within 3 meters of that disk. If you can't find it at that point, you probably should have somebody walking you around. Yeah. Yeah, it's like you on the first one, it told you that it's approximately 2 feet up. I thought it was entertaining that it says approximately 2 feet. They weren't even exact there. Current uses. So it was used in the last Olympics. It's used a lot in Great Britain. Emergency services definitely use it. If we can get this to work properly, we'll listen to one of their 911 calls, although they call it 999. Festivals are starting to use it to indicate where various things are at the festival. The British Museum in London, they have started using it, and for inactive sites where they found artifacts, they will list the 3-word address of where that item was at. They're a little cautious on that because they don't want scavengers to now go to that location and find more stuff. So it's pretty well taken care of by the museum. Navigating to hotels. Delivery companies are starting to use it. You can get your Pizza Hut pizza by giving them What3 address in, I want to say it's Jamaica, but it's not in the U.S. yet. They're working on it. Then disaster response locations. So the UN is actively using What3-word addresses to dispatch people out to disaster locations. Search and rescue. Imagine if, ham radio operators tend to like to play in this stuff and get involved with, the good and welfare of human population. Go out searching for a kid. You can call in on the radio, and as long as you have a smartphone, you can tell them your What3-word address where you found the green sock or the red sweater. And then they know where those items are. they're running the information through their net, or through their folks who are thinking about it and trying to figure out where a kid is. Amateur radio uses. What door are you supposed to use at Winterfest? How many doors are at that building? There's at least 10, I think. Field day setup. Whoop, sorry, my thumb got overactive. Fox hunt start location. We've actually used it for SLSRC for that. I've got an example of that. And locating headstones. Rebecca and I are involved in genealogy. This is her great-grandfather's headstone and his wife. That stone is located at Socialite Saturation Health. Is this the one that we couldn't find? So yeah, we go looking for this. We call her uncle in Indiana. Where is it? Oh, it's just down a couple of rows from so-and-so's headstone. It wasn't. He remembered it very poorly. As we were driving out of the cemetery, Rebecca happened to spot it, nowhere near where he was telling us it was at. So she and I have gone, and people will request in genealogy that if they don't live next to somebody's headstone, they'll request a picture of it that you send to them because they want that for their genealogy page. So when I do that, I also attach the What3Word address, and I give them a little explanation of why I gave them those 3 words. And they can locate exactly where it is. Yes, sir?
Do they do that for geocaching too?
No, geocaching, because that, right now they're still playing with the GPS coordinates. Partnerships. What3Words has partnered with these folks, and this is a very small sampling. But some cars. Volkswagen, I believe, has just got What3Words. Unfortunately, it's not on my VW. But Pizza Hut, mentioned them, DHL, Domino's Pizza, Airbnbs, a lot of Airbnbs. They're, giving you the What3Word address, not only to the door, but to where they hide a key or, those type of things. These partnerships are with countries. So these are countries that are using What3Words as part of their postal system. And they're strange countries, although Mongolia, the second one there, they were the first ones to contact What3Words as a nation to say, hey, we would like this. Well, they got a lot of people wandering around. So, they're trying to find these people that don't have permanent addresses, but they have cell phones. So they can send in where they're at on a What3Word address and get mail or deliveries to them. Other partnerships with countries. And then this originated in Great Britain. They use 999. Let's see if I can get this to work. We're going to see if you can hear this. It's called Wood on Fire. No, you can't. Murphy's Law. All right, so I'll explain this thing. Pull it back. What happened was there was a jogger, and he was out doing his thing and noticed smoke. So he started jogging towards smoke to see what that is. Smoke, where there's smoke, there's fire. Sure enough, there was a tree on fire. So he called into the 999 system. Because he had been out jogging and then went off the normal beaten path because he was trying to chase down where the smoke was, he wasn't exactly sure where he was. One of the very first questions the dispatcher asked was, do you have the What3Words app? Coincidentally, he had downloaded it that day in the morning. So he goes to it. While he's going to the app, she's still getting the little general information, what town are you near, etc. He pulls up the app. He centers in on where he's located, gives her the 3 words. She confirms the 3 words, and then references the road that he should be near by the humpback bridge with funny lights. He confirms, yep, matter of fact, I'm parked over there near that. She goes, okay, I've got fire coming now. And he says, okay, they'll be able to see it from there. And it was done. It was done in seconds. That video is probably a little less than 20 seconds, and she knew exactly where to send folks because he had the What3Word address. It gets that exact. That's the... Oh yeah, I didn't talk talk about the paddle boat. So the paddle boarder, she was out paddle boarding out on the east coast of the United States, and the winds kicked up, the seas got rough, and she wore herself out fighting the weather to the point she could only lay down on the paddle board. She was exhausted. She didn't know where she was at. She called her husband. Her husband reminded her that she had the app, that they had played with it earlier in the week. So she pulled it up, gave him the location that she was at, 3 words. He and a couple of friends went out and found her, and all was well. It's just 3 words. Make sure you're, enunciating when you're talking to people about it. Make sure they confirm it. We're communicators. We tend to do that anyway. A couple of examples. You're in a car accident. You're not sure where you're at. You're traveling cross country. You can give the What3Word addresses. More and more emergency service, emergency dispatch folks are starting to have access to this. This is their website, what3words.com. They weren't very original in naming either. It's free app for us, the user. It's a personal app. It's free. Once you download it, you no longer need the internet to use it. Now, you don't get the satellite image if you don't have internet service, but you still have the functional app. They make their money from the API for businesses, the application programming interface. That's where they get their money. So the 911 dispatches, or dispatchers and organizations, the fact that Pizza Hut uses it, Domino's, DHL, they're the ones who are paying for it. You can enter into the What3Words app by typing voice or scan, and I'm going to demonstrate that here in a little bit. We already talked about what door to use for Winterfest. That's where vendor check-in could be. It may be too small for you to see. Entered Clyde stave. Or this is where the parking is, or where they can pull up to unload. Entered cycle slave. Oh, that's what I was trying to read earlier. I got it too small on my screen. Field day setup. Where are we going to have field day? Should be at James S. McDonald Park at the McDonald Pavilion. That is at Ash's Flip Trash. I mentioned that we had used it for our, what was that? Fox hunt. The starting point for the fox hunt. So they had put in that we were going to start at Scraped Cleanser Cocktail. This is a screenshot from my phone when I put that in. I was already heading towards the fox hunt. Wanted to know exactly where we were going to be. You can see up there on the top, I didn't even finish doing cocktail, and the app automatically comes up with 3 possible addresses based on what I put in. Well, guess which one I went to? And you can see how similar addresses get separated out. They're as far as 4,302 miles away from each other for that Scraped Cleanser Cocktails versus the Scraped Cleanser Cocktail. This is where the St. Louis Amateur Television Society lists their address. I put in their address and I pulled up the What3Word address for it. Out in California, they are using it actively for search and rescue. This was a hiker that was out, and I think they crossed the log that's there next to all the folks there in orange, and they twisted their ankle and could no longer go forward. So they gave the address of Prompt Beast Busiest, and that's where they could get a chopper in. Dallas-Fort Worth last year, let's see, this is dated September of 2022, just brought What3Words online. So they're paying for it, so you can use it because you get the free app. But now you can call into the 911 system of Dallas-Fort Worth area, and if you know what your What3Word address, you can tell them and they'll know where you need to be or where they need to be for you. Back to California, they're using it with smoke spotters. So the smoke spotter situation out there, they see smoke. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And they call in where they think it is on the What3Word address. Because again, they're not right up on the fire, hopefully. They're looking through the binocs. This is, let's see, this one is a rest stop for Bike MS from a few years back. I don't know if any of you guys know Randy Adler, who used to work for Bike MS. This would be the sheet he would give to people who were working a rest stop. A little close-up view, and he would label it pretty good as to where he wanted things put. And people still screwed it up. So why not give them a what 3-word address? I want the mechanic to be at this spot. Reggae refilling lens. I want the medical tent to be at Video Fiesta yours. And then he gets them right where he wants them. Imagine you're going to something like this. One, even if you're from the area, you may not know the streets, and there's a good chance the street signs are gone now. House numbers, you're not even sure if the house number that's attached to that house was there in the first place, because now it's embedded in a wall. Or another picture of Hurricane Ian, trying to figure out where you're at there. You can call in, give them the what 3-word address, and they know where you are within 3 meters square. The Joplin tornado, I think, anybody in here, did you go to Joplin? All right, Cliff did. Were you out wandering around looking at things, or?
Well, this was the week after the tornado with my daughter-in-law's great aunt who lived there.
Oh yeah, you were going down to help somebody move out.
Load up some furniture after, so I cheated and gave everybody a handheld. So my daughter-in-law said, "Okay, go down and turn at the church. It's not there anymore." I mean, we couldn't find a house.
Right.
We drove around, no streets, no nothing, no signs, no nothing. Horrible.
By the way, there's also other non-stressful reasons to use what 3 words. Your favorite food truck. That's where they're going to be. And some food trucks are advertising where, they don't know where they're going to be week to week, but they'll let you know a couple days in advance. They can also give you the what 3-word address. Or both Cliff and I have used it for this. Going somewhere new with a big parking lot, where'd I park my car? Save the address.
Bill?
Yes, sir.
I told you this. You told me about this, 4 or 5 years ago, I think, and I was if anybody's familiar with Menards on Manchester Road, it's behind a strip center. You cannot see the store. You see a sign here and a sign there. I tested it in a parking space in the middle of the parking lot, drove out, came back around, and it took me to that exact parking spot. It was fantastic. That sold me right there.
It's pretty, it uses GPS technology. It can handle the numeric values of a GPS coordinate because it's a computer. It's not us trying to remember it. And, psychologists have proven that we're pretty decent at remembering 3 words, 3-word combinations. Remembering 16 digits, not so well. So there is where I was at, invest.thick-tamed. I was going to let you scan this if you wanted to get that address, but we've got a board up here you can take a look at here afterwards. That's where it'll take you. Anybody know where that is? Just looking at the map? Rebecca doesn't count. She took the picture. Yeah. Dolores should know. How about that? That used to be where the Christopher Columbus statue was, till we got offended by him for some reason, and removed it.
Bill wanted to stand on the top of the plinth.
I could have got there too.
I wouldn't let him.
Gravity helps with that. And I'm padded. I would have made it.
Gravity's a law, you should follow the law.
But so you can see above my head the empty statue. But that's where that is. Issues with what 3 words. Now these are issues that have been documented by other people. I'll agree, the plurality of words, the fact that they use the plural of some words in the addresses, you just have to make sure you're enunciating well and that whoever is copying the address is, repeating it back to you. Similar words. I mentioned bear versus bear. Those are in there. People are upset with, well, how are you going to deal with floors of buildings? The same way you do it now. If you're in a complex with multiple floors, don't you have apartment C, apartment D, third floor? Okay, fine. Give me third floor, dingo, rabbit, olive tree. Well, that was 4 words. Oops. Third floor. Seems like I fixed the problem. And then other people were upset that What3Words charges money for the businesses. Sorry, they came up with the idea. Don't buy it if you don't want it. But I mean, if I come up with a brilliant idea, I haven't done so yet, other than getting married to my wife. I'm going to try this, and I'm willing to sell her off too. I'll try to make money off of it.
It can't be much if the search and rescue guys are paying for it.
Well, I'm not going to swear that they're charging search and rescue full price. I haven't looked into their business model of how they do that. It could be that they have a different pay scale on that versus DHL and other places. All right, let's see. There we go. It's still there. So this is where I'm going to switch to using the app. So I'm pulling up the app. You're seeing it up there. And it's not happy that I'm inside right now. So it gave me that warning. Down here in the bottom right corner, you see the circle. That's to zoom in on where you're at. So it gets a finite view of where you're located. Yeah, or I can describe it. You know the app, or, well, I'll take it from you. I'll come back to the camera in a second, Kevin. Calm down. All right. So that dot. Also down here in the corner, you can see the globe. See if I can get it for you guys down there. That's so you can toggle from just this map view to a satellite view. So there's the satellite view. Now I'm going to go back to map view. Up here at the top, it was up there, I've already clicked on it. Takes you into the menu. I have saved locations. I've got 3 family members, I only like 3 of them, that I've got their What3Word address. 6 of my favorites. I actually went through, I told Cliff, I think I mentioned this to Cliff today or somebody today. I just went through and cleared out all my favorites, or off this list. Back to the menu. We'll go to photo mode in a second. It even lets you learn from here. So it's got the discover features and different ways to use. So pulling up ways to use. There's DHL. They manage. So I'm sure DHL is also paying for that little advertisement. In-vehicle navigation. So you find out what your 3-word address you want to go to. Say navigate to it. I'll point that out in just a second. And then it will navigate using your favorite navigation app. Yes, sir.
Does the navigation force you to the left side of the road?
Well, it's in Britain. And let's say, it's just, you got to do that based on where the steering wheel is. Your favorite location, the business location you're really happy with. People are advertising, putting it on their wall. There's a couple of companies now, a beer company that they just made a new specialty beer, and they named it the What3Word address for that location. That's what they call their beer. To me, it's great advertisement because now you know where they are and what they are. And then if you're wanting to meet up with somebody, this will get you there. Imagine going to 4th of July, I guess it'll be on Tuesday, downtown St. Louis. It's going to be one day this year. All those people, and you're trying to find Cliff. You might as well be playing Where's Waldo and they tore all the pictures out. But Cliff can send you, I'm at this location, And you can use the navigation, it'll get you right there. Again, you can plan activities, to get there too. What was the last one? Oh, yeah, emergency services. That's kind of, been their bread and butter a little bit. Let's see. They have the help and support, all sorts of settings. I'll go into the settings for just a second. Languages. I'm not going to change my language because I've gotten accustomed to English. It works well for me. But good grief. They got a couple of languages out there, 61 of them. And I did notice English. I've already gone past it. English, 4 different versions, I think it was.
Yes.
Let's see. Yeah, Australian, Canadian, India, and UK, and US. So 5. 5 versions of English. There's accessibility settings, the photo settings I told Cliff earlier, and I'll show you photos in a minute, that with the photo settings, I've got mine set up that it saves the photo I took a picture of without the 3-word address, and then also the one with the 3-word address. That way, just my personal preference. We're going to do a photo mode. So, I clicked on photo mode. You can see. I can decide I want my picture. Not going to happen. You could take a picture, and then it's going to go to next. And now it wants to know, okay, you want to attach where you're at, or I can even take it somewhere else because that's where I was actually at when I took the photo. Tell it that's what I want. Tell it continue, and it's going to put the address there, and I can move that address around to where I want on the photo. I can make it bigger. I can change the color. I can change how it's showing, whether I want, the different, 8, 9, or 8, 10 different versions. I'll go for that one. Yeah, let's see, I should move that dot. So there, I picked on Jim. And put that where people can read it better. I can even send that to somebody. So I can send it to Kevin or Cliff or to my Facebook page. Yes, sir.
I imagine that's available both on iOS and Android.
Pardon me?
Is that available both mods?
Yes.
iOS and Android?
Yes.
What was the question, Bill?
Is it both Apple and Android?
Oh, yeah.
The other way to do photo mode, you can go into down in the bottom corner here. See if I can get it for you guys. Choose that, and it will go into your photo album. And let's see, family. I'll use that. My grandson trying to make his great escape. And I can put where it was at the time and send that to whoever I want. I will cancel that.
That was for your Great Danes, right?
No, that's their.
That's for their cat.
That's what?
That's for their cat at their house. Oh, wow.
Let's see. I think I covered everything on the app I wanted. Again, you can go to the satellite mode, and you can move around, and you'll see the spots that I have saved. They show up in either a green dot or a red dot, depending on which grouping I have. I'm not going to be able to get it on the other side. Or a blue dot, depending on which breakdown I gave it, whether it was friends, family, points of interest, that type of thing. And you get to name those too. All right, so that's all I have for this part. Let's see if I can get back to the PowerPoint.
One thing, when he was talking, when we do our genealogy, he takes a picture and after he takes the picture, he then takes the phone to the tombstone.
Yeah.
Because you may be in a different grid square when you're taking the photo. You don't want to assign it that that 3-word address. So you can move and get the proper address before you assign it.
Yeah. Or you can just move it if you know where you're at, or you're on the satellite view and you know exactly where you want it, you can just move the map to that location. You don't even have to travel.
Can
With-
you do two next to each other if you just happen to be split on a square?
Say that again?
Can you assign two names if you just happen to be split on a square?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Oh, no, I'm mishearing it. I'm thinking tombstone-wise. No, you're going to be on one address. So you can only put that in.
So if the headstone goes across two addresses, you just have to pick,
Yeah, you're going to have to pick one.
you can't assign it both.
Take the picture twice. Maybe she's buried on that square and he's buried on that.
They never agreed on anything?
Yeah, they never could get along. They were in separate beds all their life. Oh, so this, I didn't get into that. Let's try that real quick. All right, let's see. That is my input. So, different ways you can input it. You can either type right there. So if I clicked on that, there's my keyboard. Or I could scan something. So there's a business that already has their What3Word address. Or you see it in the newspaper. It just captured it off of my sign that I've got right here. The Chins Combining Vibes. And that's my home. But businesses can put it in the newspaper. You can scan it off the newspaper print or the book or the television even, computer. And then you can also do by voice. Chins Combining Vibes.
And it does work with your navigation.
Yeah. So I'm going to choose it, and I want to navigate to it. So I'm going to hit this bottom button right here, navigate. It's going to ask me, how do you want to do it? I have Waze, Maps, Uber, Zoom. I would do Waze, and it should pull up. There it is. I'll be home in 21 minutes.
Not this time of day.
Only if he doesn't deliver Dolores.
Oh yeah, we got to drop her off. I almost forgot about that. The other thing it does, so if you're out hiking, it gives directionals. I need to go that way to get home. Now again, inside the building, GPS is kind of poor. All right.
So going back to the parking lot situation.
Yes, sir.
If you're coming out of a stadium that you've maybe not been in before and you're trying to find your car, you can use that part of the app to help you get back to the car?
Yeah, you would just go to your favorites because presumably you remembered to figure out where you were first. Go to the favorites, go to the dot that indicates where you were, that car, and say navigate me, and then choose that one that I just had, and it'll point you in the right direction since you're just walking to it. Let's see. Whoop, come back here. From current slide. There we go. So that's what I was doing there. We talked about it. That's all I've got. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Any of the local PSAPs using it?
Not that I've heard yet. So I don't know if you've noticed, Americans sometimes are a little slow on the uptake. That's why we're still in inches and feet. One of 3 countries across the globe that still uses inches and feet. We're not doing, metric system. But there are areas of the country that are going to it. California, Texas, out on the East Coast, they're starting to use it. Folks who are associated with the UN use it. So it's starting to get up to speed. There was a show that I watched called The Last Ship that was on, it was on probably 9 years ago because this is about 10 years old. They used it there. The bad guys were broadcasting 3 words and then magically the bad guys would all converge on that spot. They were using What3Words. And it was, Hollywood was making use of it because nobody had heard about it here in the US. So it's not actively being used. Who is it that's down in New Mexico now? Peter. Yeah, Peter Brisbane. He and I talked about it because he was talking about the balloon race that he had worked the last go around. And I was talking about this, and we were on the computer together, so I showed him my screen. And he was going to actively be pitching it to them to use What3Words to be able to get people in the right spot or to respond to the right location. Because they were using grid squares, but they had more spacing out, and it was confusing people. As long as you've got a smartphone, and most people have smartphones nowadays, they can use it. Any other questions?
One interesting aside, when you were given the description, the long description for that marker,
Oh, yes.
I grew up in St. Clair. The 5th principal meridian runs through St. Clair. So you had east and west. So
Yeah.
I sold a house once and was reading the description. I says, that description's wrong. It's the other side of the 5th PM. And I said, don't worry about it.
Yeah. Could you imagine that that's how you had to find something? Oh, good grief.
Did you show them your sign that I had Cliff make?
Oh, yeah. So that is my home door. Well, that sign over there, that's my home location. This, ironically, is where I sit when I'm broadcasting on my ham radio. You can't read it from there, but the address is people spaces transmitted. That works out pretty good. That's where I sit when I'm on my radio, at people spaces transmitted. So Rebecca contacted Cliff and had him scroll saw this. He does a fairly good job. He even spelled all the words right. Yeah. He did point out, though, that I couldn't go to the much bigger words because his scroll saw was limited. But
It's on your email signature a lot of times.
The one that's on by the door?
yeah, yeah, my front door, that's the one that's on my email. That's part of my signature tag.
If you want to visit us, that's the address you would use.
Yeah.
You mentioned, we were talking before, I said MS Bike Ride 20 years ago, 15 years ago,
Right.
out in Columbia, before smartphones, and they give directions, and the first one that I was at was 2004, I guess. And I went past the 3rd cornfield next to the pig farm, and it was supposed to be the 4th cornfield, I drove around for half an hour to find it, and I was on the phone, dumb phone, not a smartphone. Well, go back, okay, what do you see? Well, I see a barn, okay. I mean, it was hilarious, but it was horrible.
Yeah. It can be a comedy of errors.
It was.
Products. Come on. Oh, it's not going to. I ran across this today. Oh, now I can't see. Oh, and of course it's going to go slow. So on the computer website, they have over here, let's try to drive this, where you can go to products. Can't see it now. Oh, there it is. And that's where I'm trying to get to here. They have almost 100 different things that people are putting What3Word addresses on. Things like my sign there, big signs, keychains, jewelry. It's incredible everything that they're putting on here. All right, that's all I have. Questions? Anything else? Pardon me?
Why haven't we heard about it before?
I don't know. I don't have a good answer for that.
Good point.
You gave a talk on it, 2 years ago?
Yeah, about 2 years ago I gave this talk. I've dusted it off, cleaned it up a little bit, added stuff, but so. All right, I think that's it.